Good evening, and good morning, wherever, what time you are, my international people. This is Louise Uwachu broadcasting live from Vancouver, Canada. And we are 5 p.m. in Vancouver right now. And tonight, a very interesting show titled Niggas to Africans. Niggas, Niggas to Africans, with Mr. Ted Smith, who is a teacher and who just wrote a book titled My Message to the People from Niggas to Africans. So we're going to talk about what is that? What are niggas? What are Africans? What does it mean? What does he mean? Because he's the one who wrote that book. Welcome to the show from wherever you are. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for sending us emails, messages, everything. We love you back. All right, so let's bring in Ted Smith. Good evening, Ted.
Yeah, peace. How are you doing, dear sister?
I'm so happy that you are on the show right now. How are you?
I'm doing fine. We just ended school, and I'm just now just working tirelessly on my mission to use this book as a forum to draw like minds, to be about the business of the work that's needed within our community.
Mm-hmm. So you are in Baltimore, Maryland right now?
Yes, and I've been a teacher for 16 years within the Baltimore City Public School System.
Mm-hmm.
And with just that insight that I have written a book about essentially just the miseducation of African people within America, and also just not only the miseducation, but the mis-socialization of African children. And so I deal with it from a multifaceted approach of what I see as necessary to begin to transform the lives of African children.
I see. Now, how long did it take you to write the book? How long had you been experiencing this, and then you felt like, okay, no, I need to write a book about this?
Well, I would say just the book itself has been about a year and a half in the making. Mm-hmm. And just in terms of me feeling like I've had to do it, is essentially really been upon the urging of many of my former students. We formed something called the Genius Movement, and the premise of the Genius Movement is that the same people that were the geniuses in the beginning, the first engineers, the first scientists, the first builders of civilization, were African, Native, Indigenous people. And that it is a drive that for the same people that were geniuses in the beginning to rise to our historic past and to recover what has been lost, and to recover our legacy. And many of the students, we talk, and we have Genius Movement meetings, and we talk about just what is the next step. And I would say each year I'd have a core of students that I feel like I truly reach, maybe a solid 20. The vast majority, because of just the institutional both racism and design against them, I'm not able to reach effectively. And so I really just begin to challenge myself and be challenged by students as to how can we be more effective about resurrecting our people. Mm-hmm. And, I'm challenged by the words of Brother Malcolm, who said that only a fool would send his children to be educated by his enemies. And so by that definition, most of us are fools. Mm-hmm. And so what has just been on my heart is that until we begin to have FUBU education, which is education for us, by us, then we will not begin to truly resurrect our people. Because what exists in Baltimore is the same thing that exists in most major cities of America. There's a school-to-prison pipeline. And that has to absolutely be stopped. And the only thing that we generally do is when we cry out about a reform, when we complain about miseducation, we go to the same people that messed up our children's minds, the same people that destroyed the educational system to try to reform it and improve it. And it just doesn't make logical sense.
Now, that's a book is definitely a great way to communicate knowledge and to get more people to know what you want to communicate. Were you born in Baltimore?
Yes, I've been in Baltimore all my life.
All your life, you've been in Baltimore, and you have experienced and seen this, and
absolutely. Even from the time that I was in school, you had more students, especially black males, that dropped out than graduated, and nothing has changed since the over 20 years since I graduated, and it's been that way for over 20 years.
So what is so wrong about the education system as it is, apart from you getting schooled by the enemy, in quotes, but what is fundamentally wrong about the education that people receive in America?
Well, I think that first, you can't. The part of the big problem is that people try to analyze these issues just singularly, and you try to look at just the education problem when it is a spillover from so many different problems. I mean, one of the things that we have to begin to come to grips with is that the greatest number of slaves that we've ever had within America is right now. That we have more people incarcerated right now than at any time, and then we have more people incarcerated than whenever enslaved in this country. And even the 13th Amendment, which got rid of slavery, if you look carefully at the wording, it says that it abolishes involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime. And that whenever you look at a capitalist system, that slavery is a necessary byproduct. You will never have capitalism without some slave class. And that slave class will always be the people of color. And the way to continue to drive that slave class is to continue to be in control of our educational system. Part of the big problem is that it's set up according to a European, the white man's paradigm, as opposed to an African paradigm and an African value system, where we're not only taught lies, but we're taught according to an individualistic, me, myself, and I, European paradigm, when the African paradigm is there is no me without we. It's more communal. It is more holistic. And in just so many different ways, because it's set up according to the white man's paradigm, it sets us up for failure. And then even when you see black teachers, you have black teachers with white mindsets. Like Frantz Fanon wrote a book, Black Skins, White Masks, which epitomizes what is going on within that. You have essentially European bodies, whether it's a white folk, whether it's immigrants, whether it's black, you still have the same European paradigm. And on top of that, you're talking about, in Baltimore, 10% of the children live with their biological father. You're talking about a fatherless communities that are flooded with drugs, that have plenty of gang violence, where there is very little supervision, where children run amok, and then you place a large percentage of students from dysfunctional environments all within the same institution without any intervention, without anything, and just teach the curriculum. This is just a paradigm. And so I am contending and making the case that this is a school-to-prison pipeline by design, and that everything that they do is just about the appearance of making change, but they want this to be by design. In all of your cities, they invest more in prison than they do in school.
So what would be the solution? Do you want to create a black state, an African American state, where you could have?
I would say that ultimately that would be a solution, but I don't go so far as to say that. But I do think that we have to begin to control the socialization of our own children, and we have to begin to control every aspect of our lives. And the starting point, I believe, is starting our schools. We cannot continue to go to their schools and expect change. We have to begin to start up our schools, even if we start out with Saturday academies, even if we're starting out of recreation centers, we're starting out with the basement of a church, the basement of a house, whatever we need to do, even if we're starting out small scale, work with Black Homeschoolers Associations, but we have to begin to control the education of our children.
I definitely agree. Now, you recently had an African American black president, as they call him. Did that change anything, or is he just what you're describing? Someone who is supposed to be.
Right. He's absolutely what I'm describing. But let me say this. Within the urban areas of America, I didn't see not one, and I really emphasize not one, black child emulating or looking up to Barack Obama. He's very disconnected from black people that grow up in the quote-unquote hood of America. They cannot relate to him in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, I see them idolize and try to emulate people like Lil Wayne and Gucci Mane and other rap artists and Nicki Minaj and people like that, but I don't see anybody. And I mean, I didn't see not one person that really seemed to aspire to him, because I think in many respects, the kids already saw him as a black white man. It's the black middle class that are the people that are so happy about Barack Obama, because he represents their aspirations of bleaching their skin and becoming white and Europeanized. But, Barack Obama, for all intents and purposes, is the black white man. The vast majority of presidents were related. Barack Obama is related to 6 presidents. He is related to George W. Bush. He was related to George H.W. Bush. He was related to Dick Cheney. And he was related to Jefferson Davis, the head of the Confederacy. He's not kin to he was never kin of descendants of slaves. He's the descendant of slave masters. And so, he's related to them. So he's just a white man with a black face.
Well, that would explain why nothing much has changed for the black people in America, even though they had so much hope and so many people supported him.
Right, absolutely. But, I mean, part of the problem, and I also talk about this in the book, because this is such a multifaceted problem, I deal with Barack Obama in the book. I deal with politics in the book.
because one of the things that we have to begin a revolution of the black psyche. We have too much of this nigger mentality. And what I mean by the nigger mentality is that is the spirit of the white man in the black man, in the black woman. It is, that slave, stereotypical, what we became as a result of our interaction, with the white man.
Mm-hmm.
And,
now,
what
does the word nigger means? I mean, does it really originally mean something bad, or is it because it was trashed into meaning something negative?
Well, there are definitely some scholars that contend that it originally meant, something good, but within the psyche of most of the black people within America, and I am in the trenches. I'm not in the theoretical world, and I'm not in the ivory tower. I'm in the trenches amongst the masses of our people. And amongst the masses of our people, it demonstrates, and it is a word that epitomizes black inferiority. And I'm defining it as all revolutionaries have defined terms through the lens of the masses of our people. And it is a term that reflects black inferiority. And and we are more than niggas, and that's the reason why I set forth a full-scale transformation of what is needed to transform us from niggas to Africans. And Africans just denote our heritage as the native, indigenous, original people of the earth, and our original value system, and who we were before we encountered the white man. We were great people. We were peaceful, loving people. We were sharing people. We were people of noble heritage. We were more than the niggas that we are today.
Yes. Now, how about the word African itself? What does it? The origins of it. Is it not a European given name to Africa somehow?
Right. 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 It is and it's or it is a European given name to Africa, but to me, in trying to use it, to me it's more symbolic of who we were before we encountered the white man. And so what my challenge is even more than getting caught up in names and labels and things that people in ivory towers like to debate, and scholars that like to debate and things. This is war. People are dying. People are getting caught up in all types of social ills. I'm not coming from the position of a debate. I'm in the midst of a burning house. In the midst of a burning house, I don't have time to debate, okay, is this a fire extinguisher or is this another term? I don't have time for that. The house is burning down. And so that's the position and that's the vantage point that I come from.
I see. Now, have you ever been to Africa?
I have not been to Africa as of yet.
Have you ever researched, to know which African people you come from or something like that? There was a show on TV a while ago about, people researching their African peoples and things like that.
Right. To be frank and honest with you, I have not researched the African heritage, and to be frank and honest with you, a lot of my disposable income I'm teaching within the system has gone to the students. I've taught students, I've mentored students, I've
essentially been a surrogate parent to many students, staying at the school to 6 and 7 o'clock, monitoring homework, keeping kids off the street, taking them to sporting events, hanging out with them on the weekend, doing everything that I can physically think of to try to rescue our people. So a lot of my disposable income has actually been given to the students. So a lot of things that really that I could do, I have not done. And so I just want to emphasize again that, you know, I'm not the I guess coming from the typical historian, you know, type of approach. I'm coming as a man that's been in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming as a man that has
understand.
seen too many of my students get shot. Huh?
Yeah, I completely understand, and it's so expensive to go, and life is already as expensive as it is in America, and they make
Right.
it so expensive to go to Africa. And do you think that the image of Africa, which is projected in the Western media, discourages Africans in America to go and visit Africa? I mean, what is your perception
Yeah, I mean,
of?
absolutely, but I think it's full scale. I think that the only way that you could really get a positive image of Africa, I mean, you'd have to keep the television turned off. I mean, you'd have to keep the television turned off or minimize how much television you watch. This educational system is going to turn you against Africa. Mainstream music is going to turn you against Africa. So I think that one of the things that, I mean, we've been seeing this problem now for a long time. You know, the person that inspired me towards resurrection was Brother Malcolm.
Mm-hmm.
And he spoke about this over 40 years ago. And yet the problem still remains. And part of the reason that the problem still remains is that, you know, we discuss it and we see it and we complain about it, but we don't build institutions. We don't really sit down to strategize and do what's necessary to do a counterattack, because the enemy has done psychological warfare.
Yes.
And we have not countered the psychological warfare. We still have people, even those that know all of this, still watch bucket loads of TV, still keep that psychological weapon, you know, going. We still have not made enough impetus trying to start up our own schools, even though we know that these schools turn our children against Africa.
Now,
and so I think that we have to begin to act to change it.
Yes, and, you know, one of the things to do would be like asking all the rich black people in America to do something about it. You have so many rich African people in America. What do you think about their contribution to your cause?
Yeah, I mean, let me say this. I'm not for, I guess, effectively just writing them off or so, but I'm not about holding my breath either. I mean, I would say for the last 20 years, I've heard many black people in the community complain about rich black people that don't give to help us out. And I think part of the reason is deep down we idolize these people, and we need to stop idolizing them. I mean, they bow down to the enemy. They effectively sell out to the enemy. They sell a European image. They essentially trade their soul for riches. So, yeah. I mean, that is the paradigm. And yet we expect the same people that we idolize, that trade their soul for riches, to help us out. And I think part of the problem is our mindset. We have to stop idolizing who our enemy tells us to idolize.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that the same principle, the same tithing principle that's in the church that allows them to run billion-dollar enterprises, just the tithing principle of the 10% or Susu-type economics, I think that what we're better suited to do is, instead of wasting our money in terms of the church and white Jesus, I think that we need to tithe towards the freedom, justice, and equality and institution building within our community. We need to use the tithing principle of the church. They've shown the power of the tithing principle. They don't need to say, well, gee, we need to get Michael Jordan. We need to get Oprah Winfrey. The black church doesn't do that. They just manipulate in other types of ways, and the hell with manipulating. But we need to come with truth and use that same tithing principle. Begin to orient towards African spirituality and practical results, and begin to tithe towards our freedom, justice, equality, and institution building within our community.
I see. I totally understand what you're saying. And, speaking of education, what do you think about, when they give these, basketball players opportunity to be basketball players while they're getting an education, and then entice them with so much money, and then they don't get an education, or they let them, get away with no education because they can athletically perform.
Right. I mean, that definitely is a big problem. I think that one of the bigger problems, a lot of times I hear people focus on that, but the average black person that goes into urban public schools is even in worse shape than the basketball player. But I hear you in terms of them selling just the pipe dream. And, it's a pipe dream for so many, where we pour our hearts all into basketball instead of training up our young people to be producers instead of consumers, training up our young people to become entrepreneurs. Why do we have a Jewish community that is always, they always control the press. They always control the media. They always control the banks. Every Federal Reserve chairman was Jewish, and it was not by accident. It is by design, and they train their children that way. I think that if we controlled our own schools, then we could keep the white man away from his enticement of football and basketball and anything else, and begin to train our children up so that every industry that we use, we produce.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be going to white folks for tennis shoes, and we're spending $100 on tennis. We should be making our own tennis shoes. We need to be sewing our own clothes. We need to be building our own homes. And we need to have education that is suited for that.
Mm-hmm. Now,
but I think you still can't escape the fact that we need to run our own schools.
Do you need to do this in America, or do you need to do this in Africa? Because I'm thinking, if the capitalistic system is supposed to have slaves, which is the whole purpose why they brought slaves to America, can the slaves ever be free in America?
Well, you bring up a very good point. I think that ultimately we have to be in Africa. I absolutely am in agreement. I guess one of the things and one of my big fears is that I really don't want, it to be an impetus or a drive for just a small enclave to go to Africa, and we neglect the masses of our people. I like more of the idea of, like with Harriet Tubman, where you constantly go back to rescue our people, from mental and psychological and economic slavery. But I absolutely am in agreement. We have to go back to Africa, and we have to get back to the land. We taught the white man how to farm. We need to, instead of buying his poison food that gives us all of these preventable diseases and these processed food, we need to go back to what our grandmothers and great-grandmothers knew. They knew how to use the herbs of the ground. They knew which herbs could heal you. They were more in tune with nature. and we need to get back to farming and learning science direct from nature, learning spirituality direct from nature.
Mm-hmm.
And the best revelation for God is in nature,
Yeah.
not from any holy text.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about any holy text, not Bible, not Quran. Even many Afro-Saints talk about the Egyptian book of Coming Forth by Day. I respect that book, but nature is the highest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we need to get in tune with nature and learn from nature and get back to the land. But I'm in agreement that it has to be in Africa. But I think we need to do something akin to what Mao Zedong did within China, where he had a cultural revolution. I think that we need a cultural revolution. We need to throw off this European, this nigger culture, throw all of it off. We don't want nothing to do with the white man. We need to build up our institutions. We need to fight tooth and nail against psychological slavery. We need to just stop debating, those of us that are awake, minuscule points, and begin to find if we agree on 90% of it, let's come to that 90% in unity so that we can build institutions and things. I'm to the point, I've seen too many people die. I'm tired of the BS. I'm tired of complaining about it. I'm tired of talking about it. We need to have like minds that will pool their resources together, that will hold each other accountable, and do what needs to be done. I think that it's time right now that enough is enough, and either we're going to accept that we are niggers and inferior, or we're going to step up and be Africans and throw off the yoke of European and white man imperialism.
I understand you. Now, how does this play into this year? This is an important year. This is an election year. And again, you have, Obama against a few people. Does it matter? Does this election matter? Are you going to vote, or is there going to be a candidate that would represent more interest? Is it necessary to even participate in the election?
Well, I think that bigger, we need to begin to look at revolutionary models. And Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso, said that, character democracy is people power. And I think that's the bigger, we have a slave mentality. And so, it's like, okay, do I want Massa Obama or do I want Massa Romney? And it's like voting between crack and heroin. I don't, want to vote for either. And I think what's bigger is that the people have to get involved in changing our own problems. Stop looking for Massa to either validate you or for Massa to solve problems that we can solve ourselves. And I think that's bigger.
So
how long have we been looking to the government to solve problems that they're just not going to solve? You talk about the biggest funder for Barack Obama was Goldman Sachs. One of the largest funders for Mitt Romney is Goldman Sachs. So you're talking about these big Wall Street players that win either way. And so, we get up on the, I want my master to win. I want Master Obama to win. No, my master is Mitt Romney. While Wall Street owns the plantation. And, we have to begin to raise our consciousness of thinking, and we have to rid off this slave mentality, and we have to begin to solve our problems ourselves.
That's a very, very great way of explaining things. Now, do you suggest things like people starting their own community banks, community schools, and have you started such initiatives yourself?
Right. I think that we should start community banks. Now, I have, with the core of students that I have had impact through the years, that cadre of students through the Genius Movement, I have educated them informally. I've not formally created institutions. I've just educated a lot, even past school hours, informally. You know, teaching, the knowledge of self to my students, teaching them the truth beyond the lies that are part of the white man's curriculum. And but part of my initiative and just things with the book is just to try also to rally around like minds, because I lay out a blueprint for action and to try to get like minds to try to institution build, begin to pool our resources for the things that we want to create within our community to solve our problems, to begin to have like minds, to begin to educate our own children and everybody that's on board. We're mainly in agreement. We don't have to agree on everything, but we can just agree on the essential things. Let's begin to do what needs to be done.
Okay, so you're starting
we've read enough books, we've debated enough, huh?
Yes, you're starting like a grassroots movement.
Absolutely.
I see. Now, what kind of people, how old do you see your readers being, and where can people find your book?
Well, currently, they can go to the website www.niggas2africans.com.
So you found that domain. That domain was not sold. It's kind of funny that you found the domain, the niggas2africans.com.
Yes.
Nobody had thought of. How did you buy that?
Well, I just believe that, it's, divinely guided by, the ancestors. One of the things that those of us that are weak within Baltimore, we call this Tubman City. And one of the big ancestors that guides me is, our matriarch, Harriet Tubman. And, I'm very much guided, by our ancestors. Shortly, it's going to be on Amazon, but currently they can go to the website. They can also mail into P.O. Box 4655, Baltimore, Maryland, 21212. And, this is something that's just completely grassroots. It's been self-published. I'm just a man that's been in the trenches, laboring, fighting, doing what needs to be done, trying to reach out to other laborers, people that want to go into the trenches, people that are not ruled by fear, that about the work of rescuing and resurrecting, our people. One of the things that I say early in the book is that for those that want to engage in historical masturbation, this is not the book for you. This is a blueprint for action.
I see.
This is about resurrecting our people.
Now, I see. Now, part of being African is being compassionate towards everyone, So what are people supposed to do with the white people and the rest of the people out there who are not, African? Or fundamentally.
Well, let me say this. I think especially as a result of just Christianity and our indoctrination of white supremacy, we've mastered loving white people. I don't I'm not really interested as much in dealing with the aspect of loving or not loving white people on a hate whitey vibration, but I am for loving black people vibration. And as far as the white people, to me that's irrelevant. We've always wanted to be universalists. We're the most universalist people on the planet while everybody else looks out for themselves. You know, we'll criticize the Jews all day, but I praise them for looking out for themselves. And we need to begin to look out for ourselves. You know, I disagree with many of their actions as an African, but I can respect people that look out for themselves. And we have to begin to look out for ourselves. And, you know, just the fact of us trusting snakes and things, I mean, that's part of the problem that got us here in the first place. We need to begin to even look back at mistakes that we made in terms of trusting the white man. We were too trusting of the white man, and look at us here. They murdered and killed 100 million during the history of the African slave trade because, you know, some of us wanted to be so trusted of a snake, of a rapist, of a murderer. People don't tell you to love and give all of these love for child molesters. The white man is worse than a child molester. You know, and so I think that, you know, especially in terms of the higher up and the powerful whites that control this society, we need a hedge of mental protection against them, and we need to begin to separate from them. You know,
now,
so that's the vantage point from where I come from.
Does being black automatically make a person, you know, conscious?
Does being black make somebody conscious?
Yeah. Does it make someone automatically more conscious? So, you know, when you meet a black person, another African person, you're going to consider them as, you know, your brother automatically, or should you be careful also when, you know, you're associating with?
I mean, you always have to be careful. I mean, I think that, you know, we should always reach out to our people. I think that we should, one of the things that I have in the book is there's a chapter called Drop Squad Code. And in the Drop Squad Code, it lays out what should be the code in our dealings with our own people. And who's to be trusted and to what degree they should be trusted. And it is based upon penetrating historical analysis and analysis of today. One of the things that the ancestors and the divine has blessed me with is an ability to stare at the painful truth. We don't want to look at the painful truth of us. We don't want to look at how many revolutionary movements have been sold out by niggas. Even my brother, Sama Sankara, he was that I deeply love. He was sold out by a nigger. Malcolm X sold out by niggas. We had over 250 slave revolts within America, at least. And every single one of the documented slave revolts was sold out by house niggas. We have to begin to deal with that reality. And in that Drop Squad Code, I lay out how we should deal with our own people.
I see. So what are like the top 3 things that you should be checking out in a person in order to know if, you know, this person is reliable or not?
I would say 3 things. The first thing is, do they have a weakness for money? And there's a difference between somebody having money and money having them. And people that throw away principles for money. I think that that's number one, because anybody that has that weakness for greed, the white man will get them to sell out every time. He'll just wave those dollars because he has the most money, and he'll get you to sell out every time. I think number 2 is you have to begin to look at their affiliation with secret societies, such as the Boule, which is the Sigma Pi Phi, which has been labeled the Black Skull and Bones. I lay out who the Boule are and what they're about in the book. Also, I would say people that are part of black Masonic institutions, because that is a way that they have laid out to have a hierarchy within our community of where you aspire to, and you base yourself upon this European hierarchical system, and you strive to be like the white man, and the white man's Masonic system is based upon beating on the head of the black man at high noon. And it's based upon a flip of the Egyptian mystery system. They use that knowledge that was high knowledge, and they use it for evil purposes. Mm-hmm. And so I would say those are the things to look at as top priority.
I see. And again, ironically, all these things happen because of, you go in the school system and then you're introduced into these societies. A lot of young people are impressed by these societies. Maybe they don't even understand what it's really about until, late.
Right. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think that, and see, another thing is it becomes even more problematic because you even have the cultic symbols that are right within the music. They have most of your entertainers, they flash the goat head sign as a sign of the Baphomet, which is an occultic symbol that symbolizes their demonic rulership. They give the symbol of the all-seeing eye, of the all-seeing eye of Set, which they use to represent their homosexual, bisexual rulership. And all of their major secret societies are beset with homosexual rituals. Mm-hmm. And so I think that until we begin to have some strategic plan of counterattack, first we have to build a fort, a mental fort, so that their evil ideas, so that we have to stop that psychological manipulation and giving us their wicked value system, and then we have to begin to control the socialization of our young people. One of the saddest commentaries is that they control the socialization of our young people.
Now, what exactly do you mean by socialization? Is this activities that young people do?
Okay, what I mean by that is everything that young people think is as a result from the enemy. Who teaches our young people? Who gives them all of their academic knowledge? In 99% of cases, it's the white man. Then they turn on a television set, and the whole value system, from the degraded rap music videos to R&B to the degraded value system to all of the reality shows to all of the filth that's on TV, is the white man again. Then the video games, the white man again. They go to school. The majority of children grow up. They make fun of, they make fun of you for being African. They make fun of you for having dark skin. Even today, in 2012, they whoever is different, whoever refuses to conform to the image of the beast, they make fun of, and they make their life a living hell. Bullying is out of control within urban public school systems. And it's based also upon a European paradigm. Everybody is buying stringy European-like hair, trying to appeal to this fake Barbie image, and any young female that is either dark-skinned or has natural hair, she is gone through and she's made to go through a living hell.
I see.
And this is part of the socialization. It is accepted as common fact that all young people have to go through this. And I'm to the point where I'm fed up. I don't understand why no one has tried to put a stop to this.
I see. Now, are you going to go on tour to speak to more cities, more than in Baltimore? Like, how are you organizing for your message to get out to all the people that you need to reach?
Well, I mean, right now, I've been on several blog talk radios getting the message out to kind of preview, just different areas across the nation. Next week, I'll be on air in Baltimore, in the premier Afrocentric bookstore. Everyone's Place is having me on. The owner is having me on his talk show, and he is going to be talking to Afrocentric bookstores and distributors all across the nation, and those that he gets in contact with. I'll be setting up, tours within just different cities. And those that have already purchased the book, I've already been in contact with them about just different bookstores, going to their respective areas, and going to just the major cities and trying to lay out the message, trying to get like minds, trying to spearhead a movement saying that enough is enough. Everybody has their role to play. Some people love to debate ideas and go around. I'm the person, I like to be in the trenches. Let's do something about this. Let's change it. Let's correct it. Let's resurrect our people.
Now, how do you feel about, people like you, all the people who come up with the great ideas on how to liberate the people always getting assassinated, like you were saying yourself earlier on,
Right. Well, one of the things that I say is that, another one of my heroes, Fred Hampton, who he said that you can kill the revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution. And so the way that I feel is, you killed Malcolm X, but his spirit lives within me. You killed Fred Hampton, but his spirit lives within me. You killed Thomas Sankara, but yet his spirit lives within me. And all of those that have fought for freedom, justice, and equality for our people, I study them. The revolutionaries of African people worldwide, that's my Bible. That's my holy text. Even those that might, they highlight many of the books that I've written and talk about the greatness of ancient Egypt and different things, but the people that I look up to the most, even more, are those that have been the revolutionary freedom fighters. Their works and their life has been my Bible. They are my holy text. I study them. Everything that I can learn about Malcolm, I want to know about Malcolm. Everything I can know about Fred Hampton, I want to know about Fred Hampton. Everything I can know about Thomas Sankara, I want to know about Thomas Sankara, about Patrice Lumumba, about Kwame Nkrumah, and about so many more and more. And they are my text, and their spirit lives within me. And so that has to begin to change, because we'll go and fight in the white man's wars and nobody talks about all the people that died. Look at all of the people that died in World War I, but niggas still wanted to fight in World War II. Look at all of the people that died in World War II, but niggas still want to fight in the Vietnam War. We use logic for ourselves that we never use for the white man. They have millions die, and yet we still want to die for them, but we never want to bleed for ourselves.
Yeah. Now, that brings me to the last question before we leave. So, what do you think about these black people who are in the American military, Because they send them out there to fight against Africa and the rest of the world, against themselves, really.
Absolutely. I mean, let me say this. I have greater anger for those that are higher up within the system. I mean, I definitely hold those American military men accountable, but I do think that those that do have a conscience and have not shut out their God self really go through turmoil. And, one of the things that I want to begin to do is also reach out to them, because they've seen the dirt firsthand. And it would behoove us to get the military training that those military men have received so that we can use in our best interest. But I am in agreement that currently they are working against, the interest. But, the biggest people that are on terrorist watch lists are former military.
I see.
There's so many, and that's because they see it firsthand. And when they see it, they learn the truth behind all of the lies. But then, what can you do? Do you face court-martial? Do you risk your life? So they get these tough questions and these tough situations and things. And so my vantage point is to still try to reach out to them, to still try to educate them, because I still think that they are a necessary part within our struggle, just even on the surface, just in terms of the military training. Because I think that the military training that they have, we're going to need in this fight.
I see. And, the other aspect of it is that, Michelle Obama, the First Lady, is always doing activities for the military, bringing attention, portraying herself as a big military supporter.
Yeah, I think that those, especially that, I think that those that have actually seen the atrocities like the rape and the murder of the innocents and the murder of women and children versus whatever with Michelle Obama, I don't see those who really have their conscience struck really falling for that. The biggest people that fall for the stuff with Michelle Obama is the black middle class, not those that have been face-to-face. The majority of black people within America are insulated from a lot of the pain that goes on in Asia and in Africa, and a lot of the murder and the carnage and the rape. They are insulated from that. And I think that for those soldiers that have seen that face-to-face, people's lives are never the same as a result of that. People will wake up in the middle of the night for the rest of their life. That's something that a photo ops with Michelle Obama just can't change. Mm-hmm. She can't change your conscience being struck because you remember the look in that child's eyes when he was murdered for nothing. And so, those are, just the people that I'm really, still going to be trying to reach.
I see. Now, we're coming to the end of the show. I want to thank you so much for informing our audience and sharing your views with us. It's definitely going to reach a lot of people internationally, in the States, in Europe, in Canada, in the USA. So I thank you so much. Is there a last thing, a last sentence that you would like to add before we go?
Only thing I guess that I would just like to share, just to the listening public, and I would just like to, to thank you, dear sister, for, for giving me a chance to come on, the program and to, just to share these issues that are very central to our people. But I think that where I'm coming from is encapsulated by that quote, again, by Malcolm X, is that only a fool will send his children to be educated by our enemies, and that this book is a blueprint for action. And I need as many of you in the listening audience. We have to begin to change this. There's been so much talk, discussion, complaining. Now is the time for action.
Okay, so tell the people where they can get in touch with you for the last time before we go.
Right. They can, I would say you can, visit the website, www.niggastoafricans.com. You can email me at genius.movement@yahoo.com. That's GENIUS.movement@yahoo.com. TedSmith.com, and please join us in the fight to resurrect our people.
Thank you so much, Ted Smith, and have a great evening and much love and good luck on your journey. I will definitely be following. We'll be in touch.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Have a great evening.
Okay, peace.
All right, my international people, thank you for following us. That was Niggas to Africans with Ted Smith. Find out more. And thank you for following us from Vancouver, Louis Zuachu. Good night. Be blessed.